Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Earll. To say that I respectfully disagree with your vote would be an understatement, because we have researched these issues 6 years ago. Myself, Harry Snyder, and an attorney, Mike McCormick, have put together this legislation with the help of House Republican counsel, specifically to address problem areas in the law. One, civil lawsuits for citizens and police, okay, because we felt it was getting out of hand. Two, we fixed the problems in every other Castle Doctrine law in the nation. 23 states adopted this. When you look at the justification for the introduction of this, crime rates have gone down. Self-defense has gone up. The fact is, our figures came from the Justice Department, Senator. Now,
there's a lot of different facts and figures being thrown around on this.
To give you an opportunity to...
You're right. But he keeps looking at me like he's waiting for me to respond. So.
Well, he's addressing you.
What can you address?
My intention here is to address you as well as everyone else with our justification for this and the background. Now, I know there's a lot of facts and figures going on. I know where they're coming from. Ceasefire, District Attorneys Association. My question to you, first of all, and I would like just a yes or no question. Have you read the testimony on this legislation that was put before the House of Representatives?
Yes.
Okay, have you read mine?
No. I don't think I have read yours. I've read pieces of testimony.
Okay.
The Senate only got some of the transcripts. I don't have all the transcripts from the House.
I have a copy here that I gave to Bob McDowell.
The Senate didn't do anything on this.
I understand. This is my testimony for the House of Representatives. I pointed out inconsistencies in the district attorneys, what they were doing in certain areas of this state, how they were viewing lawful self-defense issues. Case in point, a man in Sheridan, Pennsylvania, I'm not going to mention his name because it's still going to trial. He comes home and his son says somebody's messing with the trucks down at his father's place, right down the block. So he goes down, he gets attacked by people from out of this area, New York and in Ohio, criminal records in both of those states, and he pulls his handgun, he's getting beat with his own tools, a wrench, a very large wrench. He pulls his handgun, tells the person to back off, and shoots the person, okay, because he continues to advance. The person continues to come after him. He shoots him again. He's arrested, charged with attempted murder. He's on his father's property. These cases like this, and I can show you all the background on it, have been occurring all across this Commonwealth, primarily in urban areas. We do not have a definitive standard by which citizens will be judged. This is what our goal was, to do this. We have Iantinelli out in Washington County. We have a host of cases where you will be prosecuted by the very DAs that say that this law is a bad law. Now let's keep in mind, a statement was made earlier that the justice system works. The Philly Inquirer showed that in 3 years, there were 31,000 violent crimes with a gun that were not prosecuted in Philly alone. The judgment here is this is supposedly going to drive up the dangers to police officers. Well, if that's the case, then why does the Pennsylvania Sheriff's Association support this, and the FOP and the State Troopers Association took no position and did not oppose it? But that's not getting reported in the media. When we came down after the Senate passed this, and there was a group of 23 of us, the Capitol police officers were lined up shaking our hand and glad-handing us and thanking us for getting this law passed and sent to Rendell. The fact is our right to bear arms says, the right of a citizen to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. The use of force laws we have now in this Commonwealth are by themselves a very question. For instance, the wording in using the Castle Doctrine in your home. Up here, sure, you're not going to be prosecuted. You try that with Zappala or in Philadelphia, because the way the wording is, the way the language, the section is worded, it says you cannot be forced from your home. It does not say you have a duty to retreat, but it doesn't use the word within your home. Zappala has charged people for not retreating room to room. This would change that because of this. Lynn Abrams has done that in Philadelphia. Is that what our Constitution says? It doesn't apply in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia? I have a real problem with that. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've watched victim after victim after victim come up. I've been in courts. I've watched how Judge Manning and a dozen other judges in Pittsburgh handle these cases as well as in Philly. We don't have a set standard, they're not held accountable, and they go after your ability to defend yourself and your family, whether it's inside your home or outside your home. You have a duty to retreat. A duty to retreat. I've got my granddaughter with me, and I'm going to turn my back on a bad guy on the street, and I'm going to allow a person 3 months later to decide, with hindsight, what I should or shouldn't have done in a situation where I didn't know where the bad guy is. How many police officers would take that risk? I don't think there'd be many. And I don't think a citizen's right to defend themselves should be judged on that. And neither does the majority of the legislature. Neither do the experts that look at these things. Castle Doctrine has been very effective at stopping crimes in other states. And what it really does is it empowers citizens to defend themselves, because now they know they have to be treated by a certain standard in court. These are your freedoms. I believe in the wording "shall not be questioned." I believe that legislators work for us. The DA's Association does not work for us. The DAs do, but the DA's Association doesn't. Now they've raised a specter, is cloud. 23 police officers have been killed. They say that this is going to make it worse. It's going to make it worse. Well, Senator, ladies and gentlemen, I have the records of every one of these cop killers. Some of these cops are friends of mine. Here's one. That's his record. Here's another one. That's his record. Here's another one. That's his record. Should have been in jail. The cops would be alive today. These people are on the street. Do you think they really care whether or not you're going to abide by a duty to retreat if they're going to kill a cop who's out there to protect us? Why are these cops dead? We don't talk about that. The DA's Association, I was told by many legislators, did not like my testimony whatsoever. Because these very same DAs then end up going after you when you're carrying a firearm. Jack Noble and others, dozens and dozens and dozens of people who are carrying a firearm have been attacked by these DAs legally, had their property taken off of them. And why? Because they want to hold you to a different standard? When they release criminals like that to kill cops, I have a problem with that. Now, like Bob McDowell, I'm a Marine. I serve this country. My son is in Afghanistan right now. It's his 4th time. That's not what we fight for. The Constitution is not a question. It's not up to some arbitrary little nonsensical person sitting in a black robe with black robe disease to say, we're going to take your freedoms from you. It's wrong. And it happens all the time. That's part and parcel of what's in my testimony. And I just allude to the cases in my files. So when we go to put this legislation before the legislature, the reason it had 138 co-sponsors in the House alone and 38 in the Senate was because they recognized the bulk of evidence that showed we have a right, we need this law, and we have a right to self-defense. Now, in case you're wondering, here is, by Michael Tremogli, a background on some of the cop killers. The ones I didn't bring up here. Keep in mind, 23 police officers would be alive today if the justice system had done its job. I find that especially reprehensible. Because if we break the law, we're supposed to be held accountable. Who holds the judges and prosecutors accountable? And these same prosecutors are the ones that are coming after saying this law is unnecessary. Well, they didn't think it was necessary to put the cop killers behind bars, did they? How can they tell? In my testimony, they can't even read what the law actually says. Now let's go to what the law actually says. The law says you have no duty to retreat outside your home. Do you know that right now, if you're on your front porch and you got 1,000 acres, you step across your threshold, you have a duty to retreat on your front porch? I have case law on this, man. Fact is, it does exist. Your porch, your patio, your attached deck is included in here. We would not have included it if it was not needed. Your car is covered as part of Castle Doctrine. Now, if you're stuck in traffic and you can't get away, then you've got a real problem. If you use a firearm to defend yourself, what is that prosecutor going to do? I can tell you what Dan Fitzsimmons or Stephen Zabala will do in our area, because they have done it. And they shouldn't do. So it extends the castle to your car, your vehicle. Now you have no duty to retreat under this law. Right now you do. So say, let's for instance, you're out Christmas shopping and you see someone display a weapon. The DA's Association said you still had a duty to retreat. What they wanted out of this, if you only saw a gun. From here, where's Bob and Bob? What's the distance you teach people a knife is deadly? 21 feet. According to the DA's Association, that didn't count. Trust me when I tell you, there was a lot of laborious negotiations going on, and he said a weapon capable of inflicting serious bodily harm or death. That's what we agreed upon. It does not address disparity of force. The DA's Association wanted that out. So you got a cheerleader walking home at night, or an elderly person, and there's 5 thugs in front of her. Under this law, it still doesn't go far enough in my opinion, because the disparity of force is an issue. Something we teach in self-defense classes. However, this bill doesn't even go to that extent. It is a reasonable extension of the law. Is there anybody here that thinks it isn't, besides Senator Earl? Now, there's one other component, and then I'll cut my remarks short. Sorry, Bob. My wife says my mouth runs like a Dutch bee gun, so excuse me. The other thing is the vote on the Florida loophole. Now, I respect the Senator's opinion on a single subject bill. That's correct. The people that agreed to that was Republican Senator Dominic Pileggi and the NRA. We didn't. We weren't asked. This was our bill. So, this Castle Doctrine, House Bill 40, was incorporated into House Bill 1926. But if that's the case, you still voted for the amendment, which was a different subject, the Florida loophole bill.
An amendment on the Castle Doctrine.
Right. Which was the same type of amendment that would have been ruled illegal. Now, that's another whole subject, and I can get into that if you want. But we don't have a Florida loophole, we have a Philadelphia loophole. And we have a real problem with Philadelphia not properly issuing concealed carry permits. And as a matter of fact, on December 1st, Philadelphia is going to again break Pennsylvania law and create an ordinance that says you can't carry on an out-of-state permit, even though Pennsylvania law says you can, in violation of the preemption law. And where does the Senate come down on that? Where do we get leadership on this issue when we have communities violating the law throughout Pennsylvania? And this isn't a technical violation. This is a criminal act. Just like somebody burglarized your home. These authorities should be going to jail. I helped write that section of law back in 1994. This is illegal. But the District Attorneys Association won't prosecute. Ask Zabala. That's not an issue. You can take him to court, civil court. I've got his letter. I can show you everything to back me up right here in this computer. I deal in facts. And that's why I'm here. Because I want you to know